Global France in Doomsday Day 35. My neighbors are starting to show interest in my snowmobile. Nah, the people in the other 29 buildings have formed a united front. They tried to force me to hand over the snowmobile for everyone to take turns using, and even demanded that I give up all the remaining supplies for the neighbors in the entire community to share. Otherwise, I would become the public enemy of the entire community and face the wrath of thousands of people. What kind of international joke is this? If you want a fight, bring it on. I'll just stay safe in my own fortress. You can't touch me. But actually, I have some concerns, as I have to face the siege of thousands of people, which doesn't seem like a foolproof plan. After all, this time we are facing more opponents than before. As Jokar could see my concern, she started kneading my shoulder with her small hands, which instantly made me feel incredibly relaxed. I didn't expect Kara's massage skills to be so good. Jokar felt happy and blushed, saying shyly, "I just learned it too. I'm glad you like it." Jokar skillfully combined hand and mouth movements. After one set of operations, I felt much more relaxed. Even my mind started to clear up. Since the other 29 buildings want to team up against me, I'll use the strategy of catching the ringleader first. First, I'll invite the leaders of the 29 buildings for negotiation, then take the opportunity to deal with all the leaders at once. The remaining people will definitely be thrown into chaos, and then we will find an opportunity to defeat each of them. The next day, I was fully armed. Now they seriously underestimated my firepower. I just need to pretend to arrange a meeting with them, lure them into my trap, and then catch them all at once when the head of the building and all the members are present. I think just one grenade will either kill them or leave them disabled. At the same time, I distributed supplies to my neighbors. They looked at the food they just received, deeply moved and even shedding tears. In an instant, they felt like Zhang Yi was their life-saving parent. It's not that I suddenly felt kind-hearted. After all, I need to make sure these cannon fodders are well-fed, so they have the energy to fight for me. Then I assigned a task. Today's meeting requires everyone to maintain order. As long as the negotiations go smoothly, we can all say goodbye to anxious days and live a normal life in the future. So today you guys need to be on your toes and make sure nobody disrupts this negotiation. A bright future is right within reach. I gave the man enthusiastic pep talk, leaving all the neighbors present emotionally moved to tears. With my neighbors escorting me, I quickly reached the courtyard of the residential area. However, more and more people were gathering on the opposite side. Seeing this, I hurriedly stepped back behind the crowd, took out my phone from my pocket, and shouted loudly in the group, "What does it mean that so many of you are here? Don't play any tricks with me. I want all of you to retreat, or else today's negotiation will be cancelled." I immediately asked Uncle Yu to come and hold the fort, while I myself moved back about 50 meters away and set up my barrett as a lookout. Uncle Yu was quite surprised to see this grand display. He said, "We agreed to come and talk, but you brought so many people. This doesn't look like a negotiation at all. It's obvious that you are here to destroy us." The neighbors panicked at the sight, but Uncle Yu remained calm and said, "Don't panic. I believe they won't dare to charge over." Seeing Uncle Yu instantly calmed everyone down. After all, his strength is undeniable. What are you worried about, other than a few pounds of flesh? What else do you have on you? Their target is Zhang Yi. They want to use this to pressure us into signing an unfair contract. Just then, several paths opened up in the crowd, and 5 people came out. They are representatives of the different buildings. Huan Tanfang from the 26th building Tianergan, Wan Chan from the 21st building Kanlagan, Li Jian from the 8th building Harmony Garden, Chen Yiling from the 9th building, and Zhang Yunya from the 5th building. A few confident people are thinking about how they will negotiate when they come to your territory. We have thousands of people against your weak group of 20-something. They can't even imagine how they would lose. After all, a spit from each of us could drown you all. Li Jian pushed his glasses up slightly. Though his expression was gentle, there was still a hint of arrogance and confidence. In this moment, they both felt like ancient generals, leading thousands of troops. Chen Lingyu, in particular, had a proud and defiant look on her face. Huan Tianfang yanked his voice and shouted coldly, "Call your Zhang Yi out. He is not scared to pee. Go home to change pants. Although the 5 people have formed the united front, they each have their own calculations. At this moment, Uncle Yu walked forward, with neither humility nor arrogance. "Our boss is waiting for you upstairs." But weren't the 29 building managers supposed to come together? Why are there only 5 of you? Li Jin said. They had already discussed it yesterday, and today the 5 of them will act as representatives. Uncle Yu gestured with his hand, indicating, "Please come in, but only the 5 of you building managers can enter, and you must undergo a body search first." Chen Lingyu was immediately upset. "What does patting down mean? Is this your idea of negotiating in good faith?" Wang Chan also laughed out loud when he heard that. "Can't he see the current situation? He dares to set conditions. Is he tired of living?" I saw the situation and picked up the phone to tell Yu Xiang to step back, keeping a little distance from them first. Yu received my instructions and asked his people to step back to a safe distance. Right after I blew the whistle, I quickly pulled the pin on the grenade. Let me serve you an appetizer first. They thought someone was throwing stones. In the next second, a burst of fire shot up into the sky, followed by a loud bang. The hand grenade landed, sending over a dousing people flying directly. White snowflakes were flying as blood splattered everywhere, creating a large half-person deep pit in the snowfield. I told Uncle Yu to switch on the speakerphone on his phone, and then I sarcastically said to the phone, "Come on, it's the modern age. Why are you still using outdated tactics, like human wave attacks? It's so basic." Everyone stared wide-eyed in fear and astonishment. Uncle Yu immediately turned from worry to joy and said, "The body search is mandatory. If you have any objections, then there's nothing more to discuss." Wan Chun gritted his teeth and replied in a trembling voice, "We are here to negotiate. There's no need for this." Hearing this, I chuckled. Who brings thousands of people to a negotiation? I just find it annoying, so I'm just helping to drive them away. The negotiation location is on the 13th floor, and it's 2.5 minutes until 2:30. If you don't show up, then we'll go straight to war. Chen Linyu quickly squeezed her legs together and hurried over. We all came with sincerity and will be there soon. I was on the 13th floor, watching the place where the grenade just exploded, and it killed over 20 people with just one shot. The impact was beyond my expectation. I was planning to throw a few more, but they were scared away long ago. The effect definitely wouldn't be as good as the first one. After all, I only have a few thousand left. I need to use them sparingly. A few minutes later, they arrived panting one after another. Not all 29 floor leaders were present. The plan to round them all up in one go won't work, so let's move on to the second plan. They know I am carrying a gun and a grenade, so they dare not get too close to me. Their arrogant attitude has become humble now. Li Jian took the lead to speak. You know the situation now. The supplies are running out. We are all just trying to survive. If you can agree to our proposal from last night and provide supplies for everyone, or share your motorcycle with us, we would all be very grateful. I listened to his long speech expressionlessly, casually placing the gun on the table. So, it seems like all the food supply responsibilities in the neighborhood have fallen on me. You guys have such nice thoughts. Huh? Everyone's expression changed dramatically at the scene. They instinctively stood up. Mr. Zhang, please calm down and speak slowly. Wang Chang was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Shaking, he strained his voice and said, "I advise you not to go too far. Even if you kill us all now, the thousands of people in the entire neighborhood won't let you off. I just find it uncomfortable to have this gun in my pocket, so I took it out to play with. Please don't overreact. However, there's no way I can agree to your terms. It's impossible to deliver supplies for 30 buildings with just my snowmobile. Besides, all of you here are building managers. Don't you think about yourselves first before worrying about your building's neighbors? Let me talk about my conditions. Firstly, I can provide food, but it's limited to 10 portions per building. As for who you want to give it to, that's not my concern. This is how it is. I have to bear the responsibility of providing food for hundreds of people every day, and this should be my limit." As soon as I said this, the 5 people in front of me lowered their heads in thought. They knew I couldn't bear the responsibility for the entire neighborhood supplies. They were just thinking about prioritizing themselves. At this moment, Chen Linyu was the first to voice her opinion. "We have dozens of people on our floor, with over 20 of them being my employees." I smirked and said, "I can control that. You guys need to optimize it yourselves. I'm just letting you know, not asking for your input." After that, I played around with the Colt in my hand. Chen Linyu said, "The Tianhe gang from building 26 only has 8 people left, while we still have 76 people in building 9. The same amount of supplies for 10 people is unfair to us." I cast a cold glance at Chen Linyu. "So there's no room for negotiation. Are you trying to force me into a fight?" At this moment, Li Jian looked worried. "The reason I can be the head of the building is thanks to the profit-sharing system. These days, the people living in their building are the most. He knows very well that once they lose the support of food, their so-called harmonious home will immediately fall into chaos, and it may even escalate into a situation of more frenzied self-destruction than other units in the building. Some people couldn't make up their minds, but I just went ahead and pulled the trigger in public on the handgun safety. I provide food for 300 people every day, and you all still think it's not enough, right?" They were taken aback for a moment, but immediately said they were open to considering it. "I have met your requirements, so now let's talk about the compensation you will offer." I reached into my pocket and took out a packet of corn seeds. It's not sustainable to just scavenge for supplies when going out, so we need to find a way to be self-sufficient. I got a batch of seeds, so we can plant crops to have a steady source of food in the long run. The 5 of them were stunned. Is this some kind of trick? In this weather, any crops would surely freeze to death. Besides, the ground is covered in snow. Where are you going to plant anything? I snorted and said, "Didn't Siberia bacteria before the snow disaster also grow corn, and we have the strength of 300 people to dig into the ground. This is the only way for us to survive in the long run. Also, I'm not out there every day looking for food for 300 people to feed our ancestors. You guys have to find something to do. Don't worry about supplies. I can even find cigarettes, alcohol, clothing, medical supplies, and more. Remember, I used to work in warehouses before, so I know the locations of all kinds of warehouses in Tianhai City. When they heard the word cigarette, Wang Tianfang and Wang Chang's eyes lit up. They are both heavy smokers. Going without smoking for over a month is even more unbearable than being killed. Seeing the situation, I immediately pulled out a pack of cigarettes, lit one for each of them. They didn't care about anything else, but just enjoyed smoking with dreamy expressions. Li Jian was at a loss for words when he saw the situation. He had originally planned to argue his case and discuss more conditions. I didn't expect to be interrupted by Wang Qiang and Huang Tia. Just give us 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and we can agree to your conditions. I said only 1 pack a day. I can find more. Wang Qiang and Huang Tia both immediately agreed. The other 3 were completely dumbfounded. So much for the united front. We agreed on a few cigarettes from Zhang Yi, and you're all bought off. While the 3 hesitated, Wang Qiang shouted, "What are you waiting for? Bookworms always dilly-dally. I think Brother Zhang Yi has shown us enough respect. It's really tough for him to handle supplies for 300 people all by himself." Li Jian was speechless. These 2 people are long peakhead. A cigarette destroyed their will. He said that this matter has to be considered in the long run. After all, they have to discuss with the other 24 units of the building manager. Wang Qiang immediately retorted, "We agreed yesterday that the 5 of us can make the decision. I bet no one dares to have a different opinion." Wang Qiang is just a young street punk in his 20s, with little social experience. He's afraid I'll change my mind. So when I didn't offer him a cigarette, he immediately exposed his bargaining chip. In the middle of our conversation, I suddenly noticed something strange downstairs. A group of people scattered in fear after a grenade went off, and now they are slowly regrouping and moving towards my apartment building on the 25th floor. I immediately raised my gun at the 5 of them. "You are plotting, aren't you? Planning to attack while pretending to negotiate?" Wang Qiang chuckled. "Come on, we're not stupid. Everyone knows you're armed. Why would we joke about risking our lives?" I realized they probably wouldn't dare. Most likely, these people weren't set up by these 5 in front of us. You guys need to be careful now. You 5 have been set up as pawns. At this moment, Li Jian suddenly realized it too, and they started to attack. Damn, what happened to the promised united front? I asked Uncle Yu to bring them in and control all 5 of them, while I went to the balcony and pulled out my sniper rifle. These fools don't know what's coming. I aimed directly at the leader in the crowd, with a precise shot hitting the target with a bang. Following that, the second shot also directly penetrated the head. The sniper rifle's roar echoed throughout the entire neighborhood. At this moment, the shocked crowd finally reacted and scattered in all directions, some even crawling on the snowy ground. I smirked cynically, resembling the Grim Reaper, and ruthlessly started harvesting with a sniper rifle in hand. Downstairs, screams of agony echoed continuously. The 5 people in the negotiation room were deeply shocked by this scene. Chen Lingyu's pants got wet again. In that moment, they realized they were facing a very ruthless man. I wiped the sniper rifle in my hand. "How much longer do you need to think about this?" Everyone quickly agreed in unison, repeatedly expressing no objections. Li Jian sighed and reluctantly raised his hand in agreement. "Since we have reached a consensus, let's not delay any further. Let's start working today. I will inform you to come and collect the supplies tomorrow. If there's nothing else, we can adjourn. Just don't try to trick me, or you'll end up like those guys downstairs." Everyone watched as the 5 building representatives left. All the neighbors in building 25 breathed a sigh of relief. I patted their shoulders and told them, "We have reached a consensus. In the future, I will provide 300 portions of food for them every day in exchange for peace. However, all those who receive food in the future must participate in labor. I have decided to develop agriculture and adhere to the path of sustainable development." The neighbors have started to be suck-ups. "Brother Sean, your sniping skills were really cool just now, scaring hundreds of them away with just a few shots. Isn't 300 servings of food too much? Does that mean we'll have less of our own food?" Looking back coldly, "Explain. If we can't reach an agreement, are you going to withstand the joint attack of thousands of people? I don't mind either way. I won't panic, no matter how many people come. But can you handle it? And this isn't something you should worry about. I definitely won't let you starve for them." When this was said, tears of gratitude welled up in the eyes of the neighbors. Some even choked up and said, "In the end, it's Zhang Yi who has shouldered everything for us. We're truly grateful and have no way to repay such a great kindness. We misunderstood you before." The 70 or 80 neighbors you cute were actually bad people. Brother Jean defended himself. He is our most respected leader. I was secretly pleased to see how the strategy unexpectedly boosted the loyalty of the cannon fodder. Uncle Yu seemed puzzled, saying, "Your actions today are quite unusual and not like your usual style. I noticed Uncle Yu's doubt. Currently, my approach is just a temporary solution. Originally, I planned to take down all their building leaders in one fell swoop, leaving them leaderless and in chaos. Then, I would pick them off one by one. Unexpectedly, only 5 representatives showed up today. I thought eliminating these 5 would be futile, since the other 20-something buildings have formed an alliance. Therefore, I've decided to be patient, first reaching a consensus with them, and then waiting for the right moment to strike. Uncle Yu looked confused, but he still gave a thumbs up. I trust your decision, even though I don't quite understand. It sounds reasonable. I continued to explain to him that the idea is to make sure none of them can eat their fill, causing internal conflicts and fighting among themselves. This way, it will be easy for me to take care of them without much effort. Uncle Yu seems to be hooked. Is this the legendary technique of using 4 ounces to move 1,000 pounds? I cleared my throat, looking at the bodies outside the door. I have sufficient supplies, as well as a sturdy fortress and firepower, so I am not afraid of those chaotic mobs at all. But they are different. When they know that there are only 10 servings of food for each of them every day, they will inevitably fall into internal conflict in order to survive. In this way, this drama is bound to be extremely thrilling. After much thought, Uncle Yu suddenly felt a chill down his spine. The ruthless method of killing made him both admire and fear. I stared at Uncle Yu with a fierce look. This is not a conspiracy but a plan. Most people may not understand, but there are also smart individuals among them, like Li Jian and Chen Linyu. I cannot afford to underestimate them. Shokar finally figured it out. She really did. In order to see my happy and satisfied expression after relaxing, she spared no effort to practice various high-difficulty waist movements. I just gave a mischievous smile, picked her up and put her on the bed, gently stroked her face and told her, "I've taken your phone, so you better stay in your room obediently for a while." Joker is a smart woman who knows what to ask and what not to ask. After understanding the general content of the negotiation, she suddenly feels overwhelmed and realizes she can't be of much help, only occasionally easing my stress. Just now, after listening to my explanation, Uncle Yu still looked confused, because his cultural background is not enough to understand my plan. He could only look at me with a wise look and smile foolishly. But I also understand in my heart that people like Chen Linyu and Li Jian must have already seen through my intentions. However, it doesn't matter. After all, under the intimidating power of my strength and the lure of benefits, the vast majority of people have already been deeply convinced. The few who remain clear-minded cannot control the discourse, and those who speak out will be the first to be eliminated. These topics are totally Uncle Yu's blind spot. He can only use a smile to cover up his embarrassment. But on second thought, how could one succeed in farming in this kind of weather? I think planting crops is just exacerbating their conflicts and also a way to buy time, because these guys can only offer their physical strength now. Also, everything I told you today must be kept strictly confidential. Just follow my instructions and observe the situation quietly. The next day, the whole community was unusually peaceful and calm. Thousands of people gathered in the square to start farming together. It was obvious that the leaders of each building had not revealed the distribution of food. Otherwise, everyone's enthusiasm would not have been so high. Everyone has a smile on their face now after a month of fighting. Finally, things are back on track. Wang Qian and Huang Tia were smoking on the side. When I walked out fully armed, they quickly greeted me and reminded me to bring their cigarettes, offering to accompany me if I needed help. I put on a fake smile. Everyone is working hard, so I can't just stand around doing nothing. You guys can count on me coming back with great results. Don't slack off on the work at hand. The harder you work, the more food you'll get. I'll be checking your progress when I return. As soon as I said this, the neighbors were instantly filled with motivation. Then I pretended to turn around and headed to the garage, riding a snowmobile and speeding away. Wang Jiang and Huang Tia were completely puzzled as they searched every corner of the garage, but couldn't find where that thing was hidden. I left the neighborhood and turned back to see this harmonious scene, feeling strangely ironic. Although we don't have any personal issues, they have threatened me, so I must deal with it completely. But now, the most important thing is to find out the spy in our building. The spy has started to make a move, as seen from the ambush by the wolf gang last time. In the future, the spy will definitely take further actions. I must expose the mole to deter others. I want everyone to know not to play tricks in front of me. I will definitely retaliate if provoked. It's quite risky to go out for supplies every day now. This situation can't go on for much longer. The current solution is to deal with these foolish neighbors once and for all, and then figure out a way to leave this place and start anew in a more reliable location. So I went straight to the biggest veterinary pharmacy, in Tianhai City today. Broken through a window and searched around. Quickly, I found a full box of rat poison. This stuff, when diluted, is colorless and tasteless. It should be no problem to kill 300 people with it, at least enough to make their organs fail. The outcome is definitely death. Looking at the small blue bottle in my hand, I showed a creepy smile. Afterwards, I will collect all of them into a different space. I believe the poison will take effect in about half an hour. Taking them out all at once should not be a problem. However, there is no need to rush the drugging process. Let them internal conflict for a while first. Build up their trust in me. When they drop their guard, I will simply send them all away. This will be the perfect ending. After dealing with the rat poison, I then packed bags of food because I wanted to show that I had put in a lot of effort to find the food. I quickly drove back to Uelu community. They worked outside all day in a state of lack of food and clothing. Their physical exertion must have reached its limit, and they must all be starving. I can even imagine them fighting over food. I came back to building 25 carrying 3 heavy bags, looking extremely exhausted. Everyone was shocked. Before, I had only distributed food to around 30 people at most, but this time, I managed to get 10 times more. This made them wonder, did I engage in hunger marketing before? Deliberately not letting them eat their fill. This inevitably left them feeling a bit unfair. I explained casually, while picking up the phone to notify everyone in the building to come and get the food. I mentioned that this time I had to go a bit farther, as I had to search for supplies in a more distant place for the survival of the entire community. Neighbors suddenly realized that going out to look for food is indeed very risky. If the car breaks down, it would be a disaster. They immediately began to fear me, and soon representatives from other buildings came one after another. However, they were all subordinates. Not a single one was the leader. It seems that these guys have also become cautious, knowing that I am an extremely dangerous person. I already packed the food separately and casually tossed it to them like feeding dogs. Those people didn't dare to say much. They just picked up the food and left. I gathered the neighbors from building 25 and said with a smile to everyone that, even though we will temporarily coexist peacefully in the neighborhood in the future, no one should let go of their weapons, as dawn is just around the corner. The neighbors cheered for no reason. Their excitement was beyond words. Life is finally back on track. I smiled and clapped my hands, saying, let's all go home now, and we'll continue to cultivate the land tomorrow. As I watched my neighbors leave, a slice might crept onto my face. I thought to myself, except for the residents of building 25, who each have 1 portion of food, all other units only have 10 portions. Tonight is going to be a big showdown, with each unit fighting tooth and nail for the limited food available.